Hi, I'm Dan Rome, and Britton was nice enough to ask me here at South by Southwest to talk a little bit about what I do. I believe that we can solve our problems with pictures. I believe it so much that I've written 2 books about it. My first book, which came out 2 years ago, originally is called Back of the Napkin, Solving Problems and Selling Ideas with Pictures. And it's done really well, which is exciting. So now it's been reissued in an expanded edition just a couple of months ago. And then this is kind of the book about the concept. We can solve a problem with pictures. Well, what does that mean? Who can do this? Is this for me? Well, the answer to all of those is yes. And then I came out with the second book, which is called Unfolding the Napkin, which is really the specific how-to that takes us from saying, oh, I can't draw, all the way through, hey, look at the picture I drew that's going to save the world. That's what I believe we can do.
Okay. Readers of this site, visitors to this site,
To your site.
yes,
Okay.
and are very interested in the process of thought leadership, opinion leadership,
Okay.
how to express complex ideas, and they tend to be involved in marketing
Okay.
challenges with involving a complex solution.
Okay.
And it's my sense that companies engaged in these activities, whether they're selling business software, capital equipment, or professional services, consulting, and so forth, are really challenged and struggling to convey complex ideas.
Yes,
And
makes perfect sense.
my sense is the power of visualization needs to be actualized in this arena. And I wonder if you have some thoughts on that based on your experiences with these kind of challenges with marketers.
Do I have thoughts on that? I mean, how much time? So, Britton, to answer your question, certainly everybody in business these days, not just marketing people, but marketing people probably to a greater degree, visibly than most others, are really trying to explain extraordinarily complex ideas to people. Because the problems we face today, without exception, I mean, they really, really, really are complex. They have lots and lots of moving pieces in them. They have lots of players. They have lots of time constraints. They have lots of inputs. I mean, any business problem or any product that we're talking about is a complex thing. Where visual problem solving comes in, one aspect of it, hopefully, is that we could simplify what it is that we're looking at. Break it down to its elemental pieces so that we all literally can see the same thing without all of the complexity. But at the same time, what visual problem solving also does is recognizes that a lot of the problems really are complex. And we might be doing ourselves a great disservice by making them too simple. So one of the things that we want to try to do with visual thinking is not necessarily to simplify. Sometimes that's what we want to do. Other times what we really want to do is clarify, especially if we have a super complex issue. So what visual thinking allows us to do, and the example I'll often give is, if there's me up here, this is me, and I have this big problem down here, and it's really complicated, and I'm trying to figure out how am I going to explain that problem or solve that problem. In the case of marketing, probably more explain it and then share someone else my idea. What I can do, we know this neurobiologically now, using pictures, I can divide that problem up. So it's not just one big problem, but it's actually 6 discrete kind of slices of the problem, each one of which has a different way that we look at it. So I could talk about who are we talking about, or what are we talking about, or how many of them are we talking about, or where are they, or when do they happen, or how do they happen, or why do they happen. And for each one of these we have a very simple kind of picture that we can draw. We can draw a little portrait, we can draw a little chart. This explains the how much. For where, we could draw a little map, I'm here and you're over here, here's how I get to you. For when, we can draw a little timeline. For how, we can draw a little flow chart. My point is, by being able to break it down through these simple pictures, this isn't a big scary problem anymore. We can now clarify piece by piece what are all the elements that we're talking about, and then be able to talk about how they connect together without getting afraid of this whole snarly thing. Make sense?
Yeah, that's great. Now, you've talked about sort of the resistance that exists out there. People have come to believe that a great deal of persuasiveness, or what leadership is about, is being able to speak well and so forth, and communicate in words.
Right.
It's been the major way we've been communicating and areas that involve the sharing of ideas.
That's right.
And I'm wondering, what do you think are some of the key ways for people who believe this and would like to apply it?
Right.
What are some of the key hurdles they have to overcome to convey this to their team members, right, and even to their customers, to get their customers to see that this is a good way to communicate?
Communicating, let's be clear, thinking about something, a problem we face or a challenge we face, thinking about it even by ourselves, and then working on it with our team, and then communicating it to other people. All three of those, sort of discovering the idea, developing the idea, and sharing the idea, are all made much more effective through the use of these pictures. And how do we prove that to someone? Well, we just draw the pictures, and we show them the pictures, and people get it. The problem, Britton, as you mentioned, is that typically and historically we equate words equal intelligence. The smarter I am, the more I am capable of talking. The problem with that is, if you think about our brain and the number of neurons that we have in our brain that are processing incoming sensory information, so everything we know about the world around us, you want to know how many of those neurons are focused on vision? 3/4 of those are focused on vision. When we're just talking, we're really activating just a sliver of our entire brain's capacity to problem solve. There's nothing wrong with words. Words are great, and the ability to articulately string together a concept from beginning to middle to end through words is really a work of art. And we should improve and get better at that, and many of us are good at it. But what we're missing is all of this. Why wouldn't we take advantage of all of that to help us make this story much more vibrant, much more real, and much more clear? And again, to convince people to do it, you might be concerned, oh, I don't believe that problems work, it's not the right environment. It's very simple. Just start drawing pictures, and people will stop arguing with you immediately, because even subconsciously they start to get it, and that's what they really want.
Just want to give you one last
Sure.
opportunity to, given this sort of this situation, and the many times you've been in this situation working with marketers and so forth, are there any sort of parting thoughts you have for them,
Yeah.
that you'd like to express?
Yeah, Britton, I have a background in marketing communications. For many years, I worked at a marketing communications company, and of all places, in a country where I didn't even speak the language. I mean, and how crazy is that, to run a communications company in a place where you don't speak the language? Well, eventually I learned to speak the language of the country where I was working. But the beginning, I realized that I could communicate everything just through these very simple pictures. I mean, they transcend language. So from a marketing perspective, I've been there, and I know how difficult it can be. And what I would suggest to anyone who's got a marketing idea, needs to communicate something, how do I use this visual problem solving? It's very simple. Every visual picture I say, every problem solving picture, we start the same way. Just draw a circle and give it a name, whatever's top of mind. Don't worry about what picture you're going to draw. Draw a circle and give it a name. And in this case, I'm just going to call it me, because almost always it will be something, it'll be me, or it'll be my company, or my product, or my deadline, something kind of self-reflexive. And then draw another circle and say, well, if this one is me, what might this one be? Well, maybe that's my customers. I don't have to spend a whole lot of time thinking about what I'm drawing, just let it flow. Well, if that's me and that's my customers, well, between me and my customers is maybe my marketing budget. And how big is that? Is my marketing bigger than my customers? Well, maybe my marketing is too small. Maybe my customers are over here and my marketing's over here. If you follow along, just start drawing some circles and giving them names. And immediately, when our brain sees these things, it starts to think differently about them and come up with connections that frankly would have been invisible if we just talked. So final advice, if you have a problem, pick up a piece of paper and a pen, draw that first circle, give it a name, and make it real.
Beautiful.
Good?
Thank you.